So this is a tutorial how to create YouTube headline or YouTube title and description and like YouTube timestamps using the AI tools. Let's the first step is we're going to get the video transcription of the video that we are going to upload. So I have here the script. I'm going to create a new project, video project, and then I'm gonna upload it. So this is the video podcast overview. And then I'm going to give the script a little bit of time to transcribe the video. As you can see, it's thinking here. I'll show you there. Once this is done, so this may take a little bit of like few more minutes because this is 2.95 gigabytes of file. So let's wait for it to be transcribed. What we'll be using on this task is we will use Pipe Dream automation. I've already created an automation wherein you just have to provide the transcription. Okay, let me just demonstrate it for better so you can understand it better. So I already have an automation in this spreadsheet. All I have to do is provide the transcription here, and then it will automatically generate like content mine. This is the content mining. So this is an example of this automation. It will provide you the audience and pain point or desired outcome. What are the key points? It will provide potential snackable content. It will provide potential golden nuggets. It will provide like the outline here, and then it will provide you like a revised version of that content, revised content version of OpenAI, and this is the revised content by Claude. And then I like here this automation, alternative lender opinion, because alternative lender is my target audience. So I would like to get the opinion of that target audience specific to the content that I am publishing. And then hook specific, and these are different hooks that I can use. So this is what I call content mining. So it will give me different ideas, different angles, and different snackable content hooks that I can use in creating the description for the video. So all right, let's see if the all right, podcast transcription. I think it's still transcribing. Okay, I think it's done transcribing. So all right, gonna copy it. Cancel. All right. So while it's still uploading, let me just see if there are two. Okay. All right. So it's still uploading. I thought I uploaded it twice. So let's just wait for it. Okay. But I'll go ahead and copy the transcription here. And then I'm going to put it here on the scratch first because we do not want to provide incomplete data. This is Encompass interview. Encompass interview podcast. Okay. So I'm gonna copy and then paste it here to automate or to start the automation. And you are not seeing this in the background because I've already set it up under Pipe Dream. That's the automation tool that I am using. Let me show you the overview here. This is the content mining US lender. This is the file. I'll give you an overview of how it looks like. First, it's going to trigger from the spreadsheet that I have showed you earlier, this spreadsheet. And then it will do the reverse outlining. And then it will give us the whole picture of what the content is about. And then it will break down the parts. What are the snackable content? What are the key points? What's the outline of the overall article, etc. And then this is the revised content. Like it will just do a revision. I have also here another revised content. This is Claude. This is OpenAI. Normally, OpenAI provides you a more concise summary, and this one here provides you using Claude, it will provide you like a more detailed summary. So I like these two added together. And then US lender opinion, because I want to know what's the opinion of my target audience. And these are the hook specific, and then hook 9000. These are the special prompts that I have to generate the hooks that I like to, that I can choose from. And then once all these AI prompts are generated, I will ask the automation to do a Google document and then collect all the responses of the ChatGPT, Claude, all the answers of AI prompts. And then once it's all collected in one document, I ask it to move it to a specific folder. All right, so that is actually the automation that I have on the background. From this simple spreadsheet, there is actually a very complex and advanced automation happening in there. All right, so let's just wait for it to trigger. So we are on line 159. Okay, so let's wait for the automation to start. It says here 158. And right now it's showing 159. So the automation has started. It's going to generate the the document gold mine that I presented to you earlier, so that I can create the content, the headline and the description. Now I have another automation. It's called when you see YouTube videos that has transcript, like timestamps, not transcript but timestamps. So I like to automate creating timestamps, though there are AI tools that create YouTube timestamps, but I already created my own automation here. So I'll just put in the entire description here, the entire transcription here, put in my name, and then I'm just going to put, while we are waiting for that, let me just generate the timestamps for the video. Okay, so put it there. This one will trigger a new process inside Pipe Dream. I have timestamp at here, generate YouTube timestamps. So from transcription. So generate YouTube timestamps from transcript. So it's generating it right now. The trigger has already started. I don't know why it's 2, but I'm not sure why it's 2:26. All right. Anyway, it will generate a new document. So I'm going to use that to put in the timestamps for this video. All right. And you might be asking, what are this? This is already set in my in the settings of this client's YouTube account, so that I don't have to put in everything all the time, this preset links. All right. So I've already set that up. I've already added the necessary hashtags here, so that I don't have to copy and paste them all the time. All I need to do is to put in the title, and then I put in here the hook. The hook is the first line that people see on the description. So it's very important that we have a good hook, or the very first line here. So I'm going to check if the automation is done. Okay, it has been interrupted. I think Claude, let's check what's the error. Third party API back off. What does it say? All right, I think ChatGPT or OpenAI is having issues. I think it's overloaded. All right, I'll just ask it to retry. But I think, yeah, this one is done. So I think it's a problem within Claude. But I'll just go ahead and retry it. And then I'm going to open the transcription. So I'll just go to this specific folder that has the transcriptions. Let me just open that. Oh, wait. Wait, let me just check the recent files. Transcription sheet. Oh, wait. I think it will not generate. Yeah, I forgot. Sorry. The correct transcription is in here. It's in the outline. There. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to edit the video here. Video guide. Wait, did it manufacture? Okay, I'll use this one here. And not this one. Okay, I think this is fine. Okay. Guest introduction and guest welcome. Wait. Let me see the other one. Okay. So video guide, introduction, and getting to know, Cindy Fiesta. So that's that. And then differences in international versus US data registries, evolution, blah blah blah, privacy, anticipated direction, secrecy versus practical. Okay, variance in data access, advice for companies. Additional, choose to register. All right. Okay, so I think, although the time stamping is not that accurate because this is only 15.22 and this one is 15.49. So what I'll do is I'll quickly listen to the transcription and correct the timestamps here. Okay, so I'll check how long was the video introduction.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm here today with Cindy Festa, who I've gotten to know over several calls over the last few weeks. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, Cindy. Every time you meet Cindy, she's got this big smile. You can already tell she's a very kind and incredibly intelligent person. And what really drew me to this interview and made me want to interview her is because she just has a lot of experience dealing with business data, and this is something that we're into all the time. So Cindy, I'm just going to give you a chance to introduce yourself.
Great, thank you. So, Cindy Festa.
Okay, so the introduction lasted 0031. That's the start. Okay.
And I've been working with data for probably quite a few decades, if you will. And I've seen quite a few changes in the marketplace with regards to data. I've worked with some very large data aggregators, and then my current role is working with a smaller organization, but still heavily involved in the data world, doing a lot of government data sourcing and things along those lines.
And again, primarily in commercial data, pretty much all in business commercial data, or have you worked also in the consumer side?
So the majority of my career has been in commercial data. I have exposure to some consumer data, but my area of expertise is absolutely on the commercial side.
And I believe now you're working at an international company that works in registries across the world. I think primarily our conversation will be mostly about the US, but I am interested in the difference as you see. And so that's something that'd be interesting. As you're working with both international registries and United States registries, what was it?
Okay, so difference international versus US registry actually started 0126.
What's the big difference there?
Yeah, so, I think the biggest difference, and what I have to remind people constantly, is the actual span of responsibility for many of ours, and we spoke about this, the Secretary of State or the registry in the U.S., as opposed to maybe some of these registries outside the U.S. Some of these registries, their sole responsibility, or that's responsible for these commercial registries, that could be their sole responsibility. Whereas in the U.S., a lot of times, their time is spent between business services, elections, and things along those lines, and it really is, so you start there, and then you move down as far as the way they're funded and the way they're developed, and the views on the overall data privacy. There's significant differences around the globe when it comes to those types of areas, privacy, availability of data, etc. But yes, let's try to keep this to the U.S. because if we try to include all of it at once, it becomes way cumbersome for anyone trying to follow.
Yeah, and as you've worked with this data through decades, like you said, how have you seen it change, both from like a privacy standpoint and...
All right, so this evolution actually started 0249.
And availability, like fields, are there different things available that weren't available originally? Is it more private or less private now? And what direction do you think it'll go?
So it's interesting that you ask because I think it has changed as far as the availability. But what's really interesting to me is the actual general population understanding the need for this data and where to get this data. So I remember a time when I would be working to gather information and I'd have to validate or confirm that an entity was registered because that's really what you're trying to do is I see a company name, I do want to make sure it's registered because that adds a level of validity to it. And I remember sitting on hold and we would listen to what we call at that point in time, and this probably will date me, but elevator music. And, that would be an afternoon, you'd sit on hold and you'd just call and you'd say, okay, I need to check this status, this status, this status. You were actually speaking to a human and you were actually having a conversation. So I guess, I'll start with, when's the last time that happened, right?
Yeah. So do you think they're looking in like their books? Like they're looking at files is what they're doing. They're looking at filing cabinets and checking.
Absolutely, and they were looking at things called microfiche and microfilm and actually pulling this data and looking at it. So that's what was happening there. Now, yes, we can all say, oh, those were the days, when you could actually just do that. But over time, then this data became made available for searching, and it was available on the web, and you could begin to search and things like that. But don't kid yourself. Not everybody or not every jurisdiction came forward with that information at the same time. It took years till this data became available. And one of the things that I remember saying repeatedly to my peers at various organizations was the data is made available publicly. That's the requirement. They didn't say it had to be easy to get to it.
Yeah.
And that's the key there. Meeting the requirement or the regulation could be one thing. Making it ease or ease of use can be a completely different conversation.
Yeah, that's definitely what we see as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a huge variance from state to state.
Exactly. And that goes
All right, so this part here discussing privacy and availability, I'll just put here 04449.
to the fact that each jurisdiction has their own budgets. They can actually do their own bidding. They can go out. That's the requirement. They didn't say it had to be easy to get to it.
Yeah.
And that's the key there. Meeting the requirement or the regulation could be one thing. Making it ease or ease of use can be a completely different conversation.
Yeah, that's definitely what we see as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a huge variance from state to state.
Exactly. And that goes to the fact that each jurisdiction has their own budgets. They can actually do their own bidding. They can go out for RFPs. They can do in-house software design, or they can leverage a third-party provider.
0519. This one is 050. Let's say 12. I'm just doing some approximation because all of these topics were discussed in a very short time.
When you see some of these jurisdictions, you may see a bit of consistency, probably like the 80-20 rule. 80% of it looks the same. There may be some uniqueness, but it's because they're using consistent third-party providers there, and that's what you're seeing with a lot of these. And then you may have another jurisdiction who decides that I'm going to build it in-house, and that's they can do that as well.
Do you see it, as we consume this data, we're getting this data all the time, like you said, sometimes it's really a pain to get, sometimes it's very easy to get. How much do you think is the Secretary of State, both the person and the office, how much is it them just not wanting to reveal the data, trying to be more private with the data, and how much is it just purely like priority and budget? Like, I'm going to get this minimum, I don't really care, or hey, I really want to guard this information.
So first and foremost, I have yet to run across a Secretary of State or an elected official who says, I don't want to share the data. I think what they're trying to do is also balance the availability of data and making sure that they're protecting the businesses that have registered with them. There is quite a bit of fraud in the marketplace, and sometimes what happens is when we're trying to protect or we approach something to protect, we actually...
Sorry, I think we have to change this 0632. No, 32.
It might create other barriers for individuals that are trying to do good. So one of the things that I've often said is you've got a requirement or a regulation that says I need to leverage the data as it was filed at the filing office, right? And then you have a filing office concerned about nefarious activities, concerned about foreign IPs coming in, concerned about this data and whatnot, and trying to find the right balance, I think, is where it becomes difficult. For these filing officers, a lot of what they have to be careful about is that they protect those businesses, because we always think about businesses as these big guys, but what about the small shop? What about the small organization that there could be corporate identity theft, or there could be an entity that goes into a lapsed status and it's taken over by someone else. We've all seen those stories, and it's happening. So they're custodians of this data, and they've got to find the right balance.
You see, so what you're saying is they are more than happy to let the information be public and be used for like the purpose we have, which is due diligence. But at the same time, when you're revealing individuals' names, it also exposes it to someone, like you said, fraud. Someone who kind of pretend to be that company because they have all the information there. They know the registry, they know the officer there. They can say, hey, I'm Frank, and I'm living at whatever address because they looked at that. Is that kind of what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a tough game. You've got to find the right balance, and it's not easy for any organization to figure that out. And you almost have to serve two use cases there.
Yeah, and as time goes on, what direction do you see it going? I see a lot of the larger states that are making it more like New York, Texas, Florida. They have this very available. Florida, for example, has tons of information available, and it seems like the bigger ones almost make that easier. Maybe this is more tax.
Right, so I'll just update this one. 0819. Okay, I think that's fine. 08. Yeah.
Use cases there.
Yeah, and as time goes on, what direction do you see it going? I see a lot of the larger states that are making it more like New York, Texas, Florida. They have this very available. Florida, for example, has tons of information available, and it seems like the bigger ones almost make that easier. Maybe it's just because more taxpayers are putting pressure on to get this data. I don't know, but what direction do you see it going?
I do see the jurisdictions continuing. Well, first of all, so I know that the jurisdictions are actively having conversations around fraud, okay, and actively looking and exploring opportunities to find ways to thwart that. I also know that, to your point, some jurisdictions have data which is more relevant readily available. One of the things that I do encourage people to pay attention to is when that data is available, and a lot of times it's in an open data initiative and things along those lines, is it still fit for purpose? So is it a source that's updated weekly fit for purpose for due diligence? I can't answer that, but I do think being able to clearly articulate that this is updated on a weekly basis versus this is updated on an hourly basis or on demand, those are two different things. So I think that the general consumer needs to be cognizant of some of these nuances. So that's number one. I do see the data continue to be opened up because I do think that transparency is more important over time, and our regulations are saying that we need this transparency. But what does that mean? Is it all of the attributes? Is it some of the attributes? Is it key attributes? And who decides what are the key attributes? I think you need to be careful with the question or the answer, if you will, because just because it's opening up more doesn't mean it's all opening up. Does that?
Yeah, absolutely. But anytime you get into, we have some listings on our website of businesses, some of the stuff we have in our database, and we regularly get emails from people that say, hey, I don't want my personal information visible. And then we redact it and take it away, even though it's already public on, we're getting the data from the Secretary of State. But it's like you said, people are concerned with their personal, individual information they have out there.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing to keep in mind is some of the data that was presented 10, 15 years ago has since been redacted. But that doesn't mean that the record holders, so maybe someone that actually got a copy of that or consumed it, that they adhere to the redaction policies as well. So there could be a document out there that today, when you look at it on the government site, is redacted. But if you have an older pre-redacted version, you may actually see that data that you're not supposed to see. So it is really, it's a tricky space, and privacy concerns are more and more prevalent as we change, I guess, overall from society perspective.
Yeah. So Cindy, as you were, I know you work with any of your customers, or you're helping access this data, helping them with their due diligence, helping them also with their registry. I think it currently encompasses of helping companies do their registrations with these states. But what would you advise a company that's using this data for, like due diligence?
Okay, so what advice actually happened 11 26.
What would you say, hey, as you're coming into this is what you should know, and this is what you should keep in mind?
So I guess there's a couple of things. So yes, we help large regulated entities, generally financial institutions, adhere to the regulations that are set forth from a KYC due diligence perspective. And what I tell my clients constantly, and we hit upon this at the very beginning, each jurisdiction is unique, okay? While the data in jurisdiction A may mean one thing, that same data may not, or those attributes may not be available in jurisdiction B. And as such, if you set out an expectation that every jurisdiction will have a list of attributes, you're going to set yourself up for disappointment, because that's not the way it works. The other thing that I would say is pay attention to, you mentioned earlier, large states and taxpayer bases and things along those lines, but there's other things that feed into that, and understanding laws of the particular states. And sometimes it's how friendly a port is to different types of business, sometimes it's incentives for businesses to register in a jurisdiction, things along those lines. All of those things play a part in actually where businesses are registering. Now, I'm not saying the economy and things along those lines, because you can absolutely register in jurisdiction A, and then as a foreign registration in jurisdiction B, and have your operations in jurisdiction B, and you have reporting requirements to the domestic registration. But the point being that there are things that are happening. So a lot of times people will say to me, why would there be so many registrations of this type of business in jurisdiction A? And I'll say, because the laws in jurisdiction A support those types of businesses. What I try to tell people is there's many, many decisions that are taken that actually influence the decision as to where to register and how businesses operate.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and totally understand. We all know what that jurisdiction A is you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very business-friendly jurisdiction in the United States that a lot of the companies are there.
Yes.
Well, I really appreciate your time, Cindy. As we've gone through this conversation, you've already given us a lot of information. I feel like it went so fast. Is there anything else that you feel like really is important that needs to be shared?
Okay, I'm just going to update this one here. 1355, that's fine.
When it comes to this business information before we end?
I think the one thing that I'm going to leave you with, and hopefully your listeners, is there's lots of sayings that say, the value of data, etc. But I just want to be clear, not all data fits every use case. I encourage people to think about what they want to do with the data. Are you using it for marketing purposes? Are you using it for compliance purposes? Are you using it for risk? What are you using the data for? And then determine what is the best source for the data.
Yeah, we got a lot of people reaching out to us for marketing purposes, for Secretary of State data. And most of the time I'm like, it's probably not the best. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's exactly my point. Because, you could send that to ABC LLC, which is really John's Pizza Shop. Do you know what I mean? Doing business as. And ABC LLC means nothing.
Exactly that. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time, Cindy. This has been really great. Maybe it's a conversation we can have again. Every time.
1503. Okay, and then it ended. All right, so I'm gonna delete this part. Okay, that's the video timestamp. As you can see, I was able to finish the recording. the timestamps right away. All right, so I'm sure, or I'm not sure, but let's see if it has completed. Okay, it has completed. It should have generated a new file here. So let me check. Encompass. There you go. So the title, um, audience and pain points, content creators, business registry, blah blah blah. Struggle with understanding nuances. Key differences between. Okay. Larger, blah blah blah. So right now I'm just creating the title and then the description for the hook. So I'll go I find this content interesting but not directly relevant to my specific field on the availability for business data. Is available for general due diligence and purposes. Challenges myself. I would be more interested in content explores how this data can be effectively utilized. Okay. You see what's happening here as I create the hook is this is like the proposition, and then it identifies the target audience. And it's correct, my target audience are business professionals interested in data accessibility, and then deconstruct it. What's the evolution? Balancing transparency from fraud. What's the desired outcome? Nuances of business data accessibility across different jurisdictions. Specific needs such as due diligence and blah blah blah. So this is the main point. The main benefit of the video are finally embracing transparency. Business data availability has come a long way since the day of microfiche and microfilm. Think all jurisdictions have the same business data. Think again. Incentives, increase transparency, due diligence in the age of data accessibility. Why understanding the universe is key to success. Oh, I like this one here. This could be a good blog topic. Okay, let me read some more. Okay. I think I'll get this first part, data aggregation. I'll get this part. Cindy Fiesta, with over 20 years of experience in data aggregation. And then data aggregation, a veteran government data sourcing reveals shocking disparities in data availability and why one size fits all recipe for disaster. So I like that. So this is the purpose of content mining. You can just pick out It's like you're picking the best, juiciest part of copy that you can do. So I've already mentioned that the first sentence is very important, right? So I think reveals shocking disparities in this could be a good hook. But let me check some more. Okay. I'll check. Okay, I'll include this one here. Business registry data vary significantly between jurisdictions. Okay. Expert advice on understanding the uniqueness of business registry data. Uniqueness of, wait, business registry data. There. Listen to an expert advice on understanding the uniqueness of business registry data. Okay, so I'm going to go with Claude again and ask, give, perfect, next. Okay. All right, so I'll just go to this tool that I have. Sorry, System IO. I'll just go to the tool that we are using inside our. So let me just pause here. So I just want to show here, this is a specific hook generator. I have created it inside our training platform. So this is an example. I wanted to generate hooks because I think the transcription is pretty long and the hooks that generated are not that bad, but I want to be even more specific. So I am using this tool. So this is the short version and this is the long version. So I'm just going to generate hooks here. So let's just wait. Let's give it like 1 to 2 minutes. This one is loading as well. So let's wait a little bit. But we're almost done. Okay. We already have like the long description, but I wanted to have a more powerful hook here. And we already have here a video guide. I'm gonna save this just so nothing will fail to generate hooks. Why? Fail to generate hooks. Okay, let me try one more time. I think that's because there are spaces. Okay, let's give it another try. Okay. Let's give it 2 minutes. There you go. All right, so the most important lines: public government data vary significantly, effective, blah, 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 desired outcome. All right, with the opinion, thinking all public data are equal. That's what you, relying one size fits all registry data. Here's why you're solving failure. Public data from the more unique than you think. Oh, I like this one. I think that's a better hook here. From 2 decades of data war rooms in the Fiesta breaks down the hidden complexities in. Oh, I think hidden complexities. Can't afford to ignore. And then I'll just ask Claude to give me variation. Next. Like variation of this title. High cost of high cost of ignoring business data. You can't afford to ignore. This is striking, but I think it doesn't really embody the main mastering business data. Mastering, yeah, I think this is more applicable. Mastering business data. Hidden complexities you can't afford to ignore. Okay. Mastering business data, hidden complexities you can't afford to ignore. I like that. Okie dokie. So that's how I create a very engaging YouTube title. So I know that there are you won't be able to create really striking and effective hooks unless you practice doing it. So by the help of AI, I can have different angles, different ideas on what to write, but of course, it is still our subject matter expertise and how creative we are in coming up with a really effective headline and description. But this is the overall process, and I hope this is helpful.